So here's the board before Ogre turn 3, and two trebs are missing off the back line, and all of these units are close up and in the woods, and it looked like it was time to charge here, so the Saber-Tusk charged into the trebuchet at the top, and the Iron Guts charged into the large unit of men-at-arms, actually they first charged the general's unit, and the general's unit decided to flee. And then they redirected into the unit of men-at-arms. Things started off well when the Iron Guts rolled a 10 for their charge against the men-at-arms, so they actually got an Ogre charge, and I was going to get 43 worth of impact hits. Here's the fleeing general's unit, and they actually lost one due to dangerous terrain through the forest. And the Saber-Tusk made it in with the Treb. Now, the other Saber-Tusk decided to charge a really long charge into the side of the men-at-arms, which looking back on it is a really foolish move, because that unit has so much static combat res, there's no way that Saber-Tusk is going to survive and win that combat. So, in retrospect, it would have been a lot better if the Iron Guts had done their charge first, caused the general's unit to flee, and then the Saber-Tusk do his charge afterwards, charge against the general's unit, who would have had to have fled, since he was already fleeing, through maybe one or either the Knights of the Realm right to the north of them, or through the men-at-arms as well, which could have caused more dangerous terrain tests, and it's possible the Saber-Tusk could have even tracked them down. So definitely worth considering doing those charges later and doing the more critical charges first. Ogre Magic saw a Troll Guts off on the big unit of Iron Guts, and Soul Blight on the unit of men-at-arms, so that was going to be an extremely one-sided affair for the Iron Guts. The Noblars reform and the Lead Belchers move up, as well as the Iron Blaster continuing to move up along the side to get flank shots. The Iron Guts just murder the men-at-arms, but they're still steadfast, and they pass their leadership. The Saber-Tusk bounces off of the Knights of the Realm, and they decide not to pursue. Bretonnian turn 3 starts with the Knights of the Realm on both sides of the men-at-arms charging into the Iron Guts, and we've got ourselves a real melee there in the middle. The general's unit rallies, and the Saber-Tusk, you can see, had finished off the trebuchet at the top and reformed to do a rear charge. On the left flank, the Pegasus Knights flew over to the rear of the Iron Blaster, and the Paladin spun to face the Iron Blaster as well, and they're going to try to sandwich it. You can see a wound on the Paladin there. That was caused by the Iron Blaster in the shooting phase with his grape shot last round. So in the main combat in the middle, the Bruiser BSB made way and challenged the Paladin in the leftmost Knight of the Realm unit, who accepted, so they're locked up in a challenge. Soul Blight is still active on the men-at-arms in the middle, and Troll Guts, that's the little pile of guts there on the movement tray, still active for all of the Iron Guts. So they stand a pretty good chance of surviving this battle. And what neither the Thunderhammer or I expected was for all of those units, those entire lances, all of those men-at-arms, to not cause a single wound against the Ogres. They completely rubber-lanced it, and we were just shocked. The men-at-arms on the left broke combat, and the Knights of the Realm on the left broke combat, and they've fled off the screen here, but they're still in the battlefield. The men-at-arms in the middle have been whittled down and are almost losing their steadfast, and not much damage. I think one wound was caused on the BSB there, on the Knights of the Realm on the right. Ogre turn 4, the Saber-Tusk charges into the flank of the Knights of the Realm, involved in the big melee in the center. The Saber-Tusk that was fleeing from the men-at-arms actually managed to rally on a 4, so he's now in front of the General's unit. The Noblars and Lead Belchers moved up, and so now most of the Lead Belchers are in the woods, so they no longer suffer the -1 to hit there. And actually the General's unit's in close range, so they're going to get a face full of lead in a second. And on the left flank, the Iron Blaster that was looking like it was going to get sandwiched, actually, since those things are so maneuverable and they can pivot on the spot as solo units, it actually was able to move up past the flank with its 6-inch movement of the Paladin, pivot, and now it's facing it and able to either charge or blast it in the face with Blessing is faced with Grape Shot this turn, or at least in the flank with Grape Shot this turn, but he'll be able to charge next turn depending what the Paladin does. So just another way that those Iron Blasters are pretty nasty, even in close quarters. And in Ogre Magic, we actually managed to get Troll Guts off again on the Iron Guts, and Soul Blight on every unit within 24 inches. So this was going to be a really tough combat for the remaining Men-at-Arms and Knights of the Realm. And the lone bright spot of Ogre's shooting was the Iron Blaster here next to the Paladin on the left flank, getting off 10 Grape Shot, Strength 10 shots against the Paladin and just wiping him out. However, all the other Iron Blasters misfired and lost their cannons. So actually, both of the cannons in the middle are no longer on those. Those guys are just chariots now. And on the right flank, he also lost his cannon. So I just have 3 chariots now and 1 guy with a cannon. And the Lead Belchers finally into the woods, finally at close range, targeting the general's unit, now with hits being allocated, just whiffed and ended up killing 1 knight. They did a whole lot of nothing. So, oh well, first shot was really good against the Grails. So in the center combat, the Iron Guts continue to chew away at the Men-at-Arms, and now they're no longer steadfast, and they're going to break. They managed to take off 4 knights, but didn't manage to, even after allocating, I think, about 13 attacks or 12 attacks against the BSB, they didn't manage to take him down. And that was a little bit unfortunate. So that unit was stubborn, since they had the Prophetess with the Crown of Command in it, and got 2 stubborn units just grinding it out here in the middle. So just goes to show you just how tough a unit of 12 stubborn Knights of the Realm can be with that 2-up armor save. On Brett turn 4, the Bowmen charged into the Noblars, and they lost a couple to dangerous terrain tests. The General's unit, well now the General and 2 buddies, charged into the Saber Tusk. The Men-at-Arms continued fleeing. The Knights of the Realm rallied on the left flank, and the Peg Knights charged into the Iron Blaster front. In the center, the Bowmen crush the Noblars, but they hold. And the General, heroic killing blows the last wound off of the Saber Tusk. And they overrun into the Lead Belchers. And at this point, the Thunderhammer decided to concede the game. It was looking to be a grind fest at this point, with 9 stubborn Iron Guts and 3 heroes in that front rank. But I think he was so out-magicked at this point, with every unit will effectively have Soul Blight from this point out, and my unit will have Troll Guts. He just found it very difficult to actually cause wounds on that unit. We went ahead and rolled for the combat with the Lead Belchers and the General just to see if he could do some crazy hero killing blow, but it didn't turn out that way. So they would have worn into that unit, and even if they lost, they still would have been steadfast, having complete ranks. So win for the Ogres. Looking back on the game, I think that having the 1 giant unit of Iron Guts really didn't give me a lot of tactical flexibility. And then the Trebs whittled down the back rank, so I didn't even get the benefit of Horde. I definitely would have swapped them with the Lead Belchers in terms of their positioning, because constantly the Lead Belchers were shooting through that forest. And that was causing a lot more harm to me than him having to take dangerous terrain tests and not being stubborn in the woods. So I definitely would have changed the deployment on those units. And I think I'm in the future lists, I'm not going to have the 1 gigantic Gut Star. I'm going to split up that into, say, 12 Ogres and 9 Guts, or something more like that, for a little more tactical diversity. From the moment that we did deployment, and I immediately started feeling bad about this list. Just the 4 Iron Blasters, the 6 redirecting Saber Tusks, and the Death Magic with Grud's Sickle. It's a pretty nasty list, so I don't think I'm going to use it again outside of a tournament environment. And even then, I'm going to be a little bit cautious about it. So, yeah, I nonetheless had a good time. I hope the Thunderhammer had a good time as well. And definitely was a tough Bretonnian force today, but all in all, it was a lot of fun. So, good game. Hope to do it again soon.